spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Blebe.
Diaz. It's also pronounced Diaz. Don't know what that's about.
And we're here to bring you some weird and interesting topics.
We hope they're interesting. They're definitely weird. So, Robin, what are you doing this week?
So I'm going to do something that a whole bunch of people have told us to do over time, and someone in the Discord said it today, and I was just like, fuck it. I'm going to do it today. So I'm going to do the Robert the Doll thing.
Robert the Doll. I'm pretty interested to find out what this is because I have absolutely no idea.
You've never heard of it.
Never heard of Robert the Doll. Not
You're
at all.
insane.
And I'm doing a very broad topic, and I'm going to be covering coincidence, which is a weird thing to do. But when I get to my topic, I think you'll understand why. So I'll just say that, and then we'll go from there. But we're going to jump into homegrown horrors for this episode. Before we do that, just a reminder to anyone who has had a paranormal experience or any experience that you want to share with us, you can reach out to us via email at storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to facebook.com/scarishpodcast and message us there. Like the page, pretty please. Join the group, the Scarish Spooky Friends group. I always screw that up. But you can join there, and you can post your story for some instant feedback. You can also join the Discord. And the best way to join the Discord is to go to scarish.com, and on the right-hand side, there's a little thing that says, join us on Discord. Click that, and it'll take you to it. And then Twitter.
Cool.
Twitter's at Scarish. Twitter's at ScarishPod. It's only 280 characters, so I doubt you're going to be sending us many stories on there, but you can definitely send us topic suggestions or just shout-outs or just communicate in general with us there. Those are the best places to reach out to us, but to start, I think you're going to go first, correct?
Yep.
And you're going to be reading two because we have two relatively
really short
ones.
Yeah.
And then I'll do one.
All right.
And then we'll jump into the regular topics for this episode.
Okay, so this first one I'm going to read is actually from our Discord that I pulled off of. It's from Tornado on Discord. Hey, what's up, bro?
What up, Tornado?
So like a week ago or so, I was about to lay down to sleep at like 2 or 3. I don't remember the exact time, but as soon as I sat down, I heard a hey, and it sounded like a loud whisper.
Now again, what kind of hey? Was it like hey?
I think it was more like a whispered hey.
Okay, so it wasn't like a hey.
Yeah, no. I don't think so.
I would be like, I would just whisper back, hey.
My brother was close to me, but he was asleep and did not react to the sound. I just stared for a few seconds around to see if anyone was around, but no one was, except for my pre-mentioned brother. It was strange, and I have noticed a little bit more activity in my house, which has never really happened. The stuff that happens is not scary, just strange, and could possibly be written off as other explanations, but what I heard that night was so pronounced and obvious it had to be human or something else.
Interesting. It reminds me of that meme. I think it's the sloth where it's like, hey, and then the person's like, what? And the next cell in the meme is like, you a bitch.
What?
You've never seen that one?
No,
I know I've sent that one to you before.
Never seen this one.
It's a good meme. You should check that out.
That sounds weird.
It's super creepy. I don't want to hear voices when I'm sleeping and realize it's not from the only person it could be from. So.
When I wake up from nightmares and stuff like that, I don't look around either. I'm just like, gonna hide under the blankets till I fall asleep again. Okay.
That's funny. Yeah,
like I don't know. I couldn't look around, especially in the middle of the night. Like
I would do the same thing. So that makes sense.
You'd look around or?
No, I do the same thing as you. So that makes sense.
Oh, okay, cool.
I usually just wake up and go to the bathroom and then just lay back down. I'm like, okay, please don't let me fall back into that same fucking dream. That's usually my biggest fear. So
you sure you don't wake up? Something about putting on a little makeup.
I was wondering why you were taking so long to get to your next words, and it was because you were searching for lyrics. And no, and I don't know why I left the keys upon the table.
You wanted to.
I hate you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and move into the next one, which does not have a subject, and it just starts out. So let's just get to it. This one says, my grandma used to be really into scary things before she died. Her favorite genre of movie was horror. My dad and my aunt also enjoyed horror movies. My uncle hated them. My aunt, and in parentheses, being the older of the three, loved them the most and would stay up late watching horror movies with my grandmother. My dad was one of those kids who would sleepwalk, but he would also have night terrors in the middle of the night, in the middle of him walking around. That fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I imagine that's like a really destructive sleepwalker. When they moved to a new house, my dad and my uncle would sleep on a bunk bed, and he would always sleep on the top bed. My aunt swears that she has no idea how, but one night when her and my grandma were watching a horror movie, at about 2 a.m., she heard breathing behind her and felt warm breath on the back of her neck. She started to turn around and saw my dad. She jumped and as my grandma started to turn around, my dad woke up screaming, which scared my aunt and grandmother.
Wow.
My dad stopped screaming after a little while and seemed confused, but for some reason wasn't responding to them when they tried to talk to him. I would just like to, this is a side note, this is an Adam side note, mention that waking up a sleepwalker does not make them go insane. That's a rumor, and that's total bullshit. I know that as a sleepwalker who has been woken up before, you're just confused because you're like, where the fuck am I? And you don't understand why you're walking around and in some cases like talking to people. So to get back to the email, it says he looked around, said, quote, "Don't leave the house. It's too late."
Shut up.
And then went back to bed. She
Oh
says the
my
most
goodness.
confusing part was that every morning when he climbed off the bunk bed, he would fall because the ladder was really small and his feet couldn't really fit on it. So she always has wondered how somehow he climbed down the ladder in his sleep perfectly, because otherwise he would have fallen if he was woke. But yeah, that's my scary story from my dad. I also have a few other stories. Love the podcast. Just found you guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank
We
you.
want to hear your other stories, so definitely send those in.
Yeah.
We appreciate you sharing. I always want to hear stuff about other people that sleepwalk or had night terrors, because I experienced those growing up as a kid. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I
Well,
talked
yeah.
about it many times
Yeah.
to you off the podcast and on the podcast.
Cool.
So,
did
yeah.
the lights just flicker? Did you see that?
They did just flicker. It's probably the demons that are being kept at bay.
Earlier at work, I was watching a lot of scary videos on YouTube and researching this topic, right? So I started freaking out at work just a little bit, like getting anxiety, and then I had to go to the restroom. So I told my coworker, I'm like, if I don't come back, it was the demon in the
I
restroom.
hate you so much. I wonder sometimes, like, has there ever been a person that was just so exhausted, like so tired they slept through a haunting? Where, like, a demon or a ghost was trying everything they could to wake the person up, like shaking the bed, like knocking shit off the walls. And that person just snored the entire way through it until they just gave up, like, well, fuck this. And just, like, went through the wall. Like, I'll just find someone else then. And then the person woke up and was like, oh, I wonder how all that shit fell down.
Well, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, there has to be.
But
well,
I'm-
okay, there doesn't have to be. But
There has to be. There's no way there's not. Or there is completely 100% way there's not. Okay, let's
Okay.
get on to the next one.
So this next one goes, "Hi, Adam and Robin."
Hello.
My name is Hayden. I've been listening to your pod. You can read this email on the air. Cool, because we are. My friend told me this story. It was the first day my friend was in his new house in the basement. Of course it is. He and his friends, or he had friends over, and he saw a figure at the entrance of the basement. It stared at him in the face. At the same time he saw the figure, his friend came over to him and asked, "Are you okay?" And he said yes. They left the basement and headed upstairs to get ready for bed. As they were getting ready for their slumber party, he heard a voice say in a mean way, "Go away." He ran to his mom and told her. He was obviously scared, and his mom told him it was just his imagination and sent him to bed.
That's shitty.
Then his mom was in the kitchen while he was getting a glass of water, and he heard the voice again. His mom believed him. And that's the end of the story. It goes,
Wow.
I'm a fan of your podcast, Hayden. That's really freaking
It's a very
creepy.
abrupt ending, I
Right?
gotta say.
Yeah, sometimes it just takes
Someone experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shitty thing, because you want to tell someone, like, I told you so, because they didn't believe you when it was just your word. They have to have something happen to them before they even, like, decide they might entertain the thought you could be telling the truth.
Right.
I think that's kind of a dick move. And I don't want to be that guy. Like, I know we had the Storytime episode this past week where we had one really, really intense and crazy, like, group of stories together. And I was like, someone check, Reddit or Creepypasta to see if this is on there, because it was just so incredibly intense. It's just like the skeptic in me, like, maybe this is something, like, fake that someone pulled from somewhere else. But if not, if that's someone's actual experience, that is just bizarre. And they posted stuff on the Discord too,
Yeah.
like, hey, here's some of the stuff, like, just so everyone can see. They posted, like, a picture of scars and, like, some information off of, like, some official documentation regarding, like, I think it was like a
It was
non-disclosure
like
agreement
it
or a
was the
settlement.
police report.
Yeah. So some bizarre stuff. So definitely don't stop sending that stuff to us, guys. We do want to hear that stuff. I just am going to read it through the lens of just trying to be as skeptical as possible, which I advise everyone to do, especially when you're listening to stuff like we're going to go over tonight, or today, whenever the fuck you're reading this. Now or later. I don't know. Why are you looking at me? I don't know if you're looking at me. This is a podcast.
Okay, well, now that we're done with our homegrown horror, why don't you go first?
Okay, cool. I will. So this week I wasn't precisely sure what topic I wanted to pick. There's a lot of episodes that are getting released during the month of October, and although I have some of those episodes in my brain that I want to like go forward with, this one I was like, should I jump on these topics yet? And then I thought maybe I would just do a creature feature because I've been interested in doing that. And then I was like, oh, I could just pick a topic from like a bunch of different random shit that resides in my brain because I have all this like worthless knowledge that I kind of want to share. And it's sort of the reason why we started the podcast. But the problem with those things are there's not a ton of backstory. So finally I just said, fuck it. Like instead of skipping these things repeatedly or doing like a really short topic, I would take on a larger theme that they all fit into, and then I'd go out and find a few extra ones. So, dear listener, I present to you Bizarre Coincidences number 1, maybe? I'm not sure if that's what I'm going to name it, because I probably will revisit this because there's so many different ones.
Cool.
But these are like famous ones. So, before I get started, let's just talk about this. What is a coincidence? Like, let's talk about like what the dictionary defines the coincidence as, which is a striking occurrence of 2 or more events at one time, apparently by mere chance. So just hearing that, you might not understand what the fuck that means. So for those of you who still don't get it, it's basically when something wacky happens that seems like it was planned, but it wasn't. And that's why people are like, is this a coincidence or was this planned? Or is this like a result of a different thing? So it's like when you tell someone like, hey, have you ever seen the movie Drop Dead Fred? It's so good because it just popped into your head. And then like later on you go home and 3 hours later you turn on your TV and Drop Dead Fred is on the channel you happen to leave your TV
That
on.
happens to me a lot.
It happens to a lot of people, and that's what I mean by coincidence. So as a side note, by the way, Drop Dead Fred sucks. That movie totally does not hold up.
I've never heard of it.
It's a movie about an imaginary friend who would always encourage a kid to do obnoxious, destructive shit, and then they come back to the kid when they're an adult, when they're having like a stressful time in their life. And like Fred does all this shit. It's not the kid doing it. It's not the adult doing it. Like Fred goes into a room and fucking trashes it. And then the people will go in there and be like, why'd you do that? And it's just one of those movies where it's just awkward situation after awkward situation. And it's just not, it was funny when you're a kid because you're like, oh my God, Fred's so wacky. Then as an adult, you're like, Fred's a fucking poltergeist. Like he's haunting this poor girl. And then like she gets older and he comes back and starts to destroy her life in the most stressful time ever. And then like there's supposed to be a message in there, but it's just totally lost. Don't watch Drop Dead Fred as long.
You know what movie I really like?
What's
is
that?
The one about the monsters under your bed. And
Is it called Monsters Inc.?
No, it's like the main character is a blue guy with like horns.
Monsters Inc.
No. Oh my God, that does sound like Sully.
Yeah.
But it's like I think the main monster is like blue and he has weird teeth and he has like one horn that's like intact and the other one's broken. And it's like about this kid that makes friends with the monster that lives under his bed, and he like
So the kid is friends with the monster that's under his bed. Does he get along with the voices inside of his head?
Is this an Eminem song?
It's a Rihanna/Eminem song, yes.
Oh, okay. No, anyway, no, but he like goes to the monsters world and stuff like that, and it's not Monsters Inc.
This is Monsters Inc.
It's
I'm
a
sure this is a
live-action
different
movie.
movie that you're talking about, but one of them stole from the other one. Is there a green guy that's short with one eye?
It's like from the 80s.
Okay, so we know that Monsters Inc. ripped off of this movie. I've never heard of this. Do you not know what it's called?
I think it's called Little Monsters. I don't remember what it's called.
That sounds familiar. That
But
sounds like something.
Used to really like that movie, but also was afraid of that movie at the same time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, let's
Cool.
go.
Good to know.
Continue.
So getting back to coincidence, but like you kind of get the gist of what we're saying here. I mean, even though we had a movie tangent, which we always do, and I have a whole bunch of them built into my script, and that's just because that's how my
sweet
brain works.
Jesus.
But something that just seems like the circumstances must have been known prior to an event occurring, and these things happen a lot, and everyone knows that they really do. And in so many of the stories that we have told or
Like the
will
Mothman?
tell in the future, what's that?
Like Mothman?
Very similar to Mothman. Like, there's always, like, some weird sighting of a giant bird, man, humanoid creature right before a fucking disaster. That could all be coincidence, or it could be the fact that there's an actual creature out there, or a time traveler, like I think, that shows up when something bad's about to happen to chase people away of what's, like, gonna get them killed. But like I was saying, like some bizarre events are going to take place that are just creepy. And like we've talked about a bunch of different things before where people could just say like, oh, it's just coincidence. And especially when it's something creepy that's surrounded with circumstances of something being paranormal, like that's going to make things scarier for the listener or like the people involved just feel worse. And like after all it's said and done, like you have a ghost story. Like that's what you get from a bunch of coincidences surrounding a paranormal event. You know, and some people just say like, oh, I don't believe in that. And they just chalk it up to coincidence, like all of it. And like, this is the heart of why when I do my research, I try and find as much documented shit as possible. Because if you can find documented stuff that shows like well, this thing happened and this thing happened and this thing happened, and you can stack all that stuff together. Like it's not just one coincidence or two coincidences. When they all start to add together, me as a skeptic person, I am skeptic about doubting something instead of believing it. And then when you're just someone who just says like, well, I don't believe that, and you have to look at the evidence like, well, all this shit really did happen, like all this coincidental shit around this bizarre event, like then it's just as ignorant to say like, well, I just don't believe in that based off of ignoring evidence versus just not having any. So like that's kind of how I've always been when it comes to this show. So these are some bizarre one-offs that aren't attached to anything like big or specific that I've been able to work into an episode that I thought would be fun, and rather than just have like one or two, I've added in like a handful. And they happen in everyone's everyday life, like we've kind of talked about that. But these ones are more like not well known, but involved with famous people, or they had like really specific events that are just like kind of fun to learn about. So let's just jump into it because I feel like they need to be talked about on the show.
Cool.
So like, what's an example of something I'm talking about? Like, this is a good example. So back in 1864, and for whatever reason, when I read this number, it reminds me of that South Park episode with the Pioneer Village where everyone's like an actor. We're like 1864, and they have to say it that way because they're always in character. Anyways, back in 1864, there was a college student, and like today, this dude was a little stressed out from college, and he was busting his ass trying to get good grades. And I'm sure this sounds familiar to a lot of people out there. Like, where was he attending university? It's a little place known as Harvard University, because that existed back then. So like, you hear these things, you relate to the person because you're like, yeah, I know what it's like to bust my ass to try and do well. And then you hear Harvard. So you know when I say he was a little stressed, I mean he was probably super fucking stressed. And he just wanted to take a break, to get away from his studies for a little while. So he did. And he hopped on a train, and when he got on the train, he was like, spring break! And like right then, like Song 2 by Blur probably kicked in. And most of you are probably saying like, I don't know what Song 2 by Blur is. You've all heard it. You probably just don't know that that's what it's called. It's a song with like, woohoo, boom, 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 and then it just repeats for like 2 minutes. You don't know what I'm saying?
I know a song where it woohoos.
It's that song.
Okay.
I like guarantee you it's that song. So that's happening because that's what happens with every montage for spring break.
Okay.
It's not really spring break. I think this took place in April. That might be spring break now. I don't fucking remember. Anyways, after a party montage on the train with like chicks in bikinis and a ton of blow, he decides to disembark in Jersey City. This is true. He does get off the train in Jersey City. I would guess in New Jersey. I'm not quite sure.
I don't know where it is.
It's irrelevant, but just he got off in a place named Jersey City. So it was crowded as fuck on the platform when he got off because there's a lot of people out there. It's probably actually spring break. And people started to cross this bridge that led off the platform. But at the time, it was super fucking crowded. And he decided he was going to let people go by him by putting his back to the wall. So he backed up so people could like pass by, which is a very kind thing to do. And people started crossing and got off the bridge. And did I say that he backed up against the wall?
Yeah.
That's what he thought. What he really backed up against was a train car. And you know the problem with putting your back against one of those? They eventually move. And it did. And it spun him right round, baby. Right round.
Oh my God, of course you did.
Like a record, baby. Right round, round, round. Anyways, he fell when that happened between the space between the train and the platform. So
did he die?
He fell down, and that fucking sucks, right? Well, not exactly, because although he fell, he wasn't splattered right away. He was in the space just barely enough where he wasn't getting crushed by the train. But it was moving past, everyone was freaking out, and like he's probably down there thinking like, I should have just fucking stayed home and done my studies. While he's thinking this, he feels a pressure on the back of his neck. And it was a total stranger's hand reaching down to grab him. And this person reached down and grabbed him at great risk to themselves. And they were able to get a hold of him and pull him back up and onto the platform. And he was relieved to be alive. The college kid thanked the man profusely, telling him, not over-exaggerating by any means, that he had saved his life. And he had 100% saved this kid's life. And he did it in front of a bunch of people. So why is this the first thing I mentioned in coincidence? Like, well, it's not the event itself. Although it's a very nice event to hear about, it's the identity of these two people. So the college kid's name was Robert Todd Lincoln, the fucking son of Abraham Lincoln. And the guy who saved him was named Edwin Booth, the fucking brother of John Wilkes Booth.
You're lying.
And I knew you were going to say that. This event is 100% true.
You're fucking
lying. And for those of you who don't know, a year later, John Wilkes Booth would assassinate Abraham Lincoln. This happened.
This is before?
This happened a year before. This is 100% true. It is not bullshit. For those of you who know who Edwin Booth is, he was a super famous actor. His brother wasn't as famous as him, so when he rescued him, the kid instantly recognized him. He was like, "You're Edwin Booth. Oh my God, thank you for rescuing me." And Edwin Booth had no fucking clue who the kid was. He was just like, this kid just fell down. Someone needs to help him. And he did. He found out who the kid was when he received a letter that exists
from Abraham
fucking Lincoln,
oh my
thanking
goodness.
him for saving the life of his son. And a year later, his brother would assassinate President Lincoln.
There's no
That's
way.
100% a true story. It is 100% documented. It's totally fucking true. And like, that's the sort of shit where it's like, that's not long enough to be an episode, but I want to start bringing stuff like this up because I think these are really fun. So now that you get the idea of what I'm going to be covering, like, let's move into another one. I heard about this one when I was in high school, and through all the research I was able to do, I can't 100% confirm all the details of this story. But what I can confirm is the person I'm about to tell you about is indeed real, and these events did indeed take place. So there might be some details because there wasn't exact way. I'll just get into it, and you guys will figure out what might be bullshit. So let's just go ahead and move forward. So let's stay in the 1800s. There was a guy over in Marseille, France, and I looked up the pronunciation of that, and I got it right. There's Versailles and there's Marseille. So this guy lived in Marseille, France. What was his name? It was Henry Tragny. And giving away the identity at the beginning of this obviously shows that this guy doesn't have anything to do with the coincidence. It's the events that do. So let's get to it. Like, what is there to be known about Henry Tragny before we start? Well, he was a bit of a shit talker, as a lot of people are nowadays.
Man, what a Tragny.
I hate you. That sounds like really prejudice. But some might even say he was a bit of an asshole. But it's kind of unknown because there's not a lot written about the person he is. But there's a lot written about the events of his life from 1861 to 1878. And it's a pretty easy assumption to make that he was an asshole. Why? Well, as a side note, to kind of give you an idea, have you ever seen the movie Stranger Than Fiction? It's one of my favorite movies. You've never seen it? I'm pretty sure I've made you watch it, but you were on your phone the whole time. So there's a part in that movie where a character says that they once read a book about people who jump off rooftops. And they have all these pictures of what people look like when they land. And it's really grotesque and morbid. And they state that in that book, it's stated that people often don't die from the impact. And that's why they have like a very serene face when they die, is because they die on heart failure on the way down. They die from fear of dying.
I've heard of that before.
Yeah, and it's something I've heard of too, and it's just a funny spot in that movie that I always think about. So why do I bring this up? Well, because Henry Tragny, this huge shit talker, had his first duel in 1861. That's why the events start in 1861. He wasn't born then. That's when shit kind of kicked off. He ran his mouth a whole bunch back in the day. And it was like kind of how Facebook is now, except back then, if you wanted to talk shit, you had to do it in person to someone's face. So instead of just like settling things with a debate, or like if things got really heated with fisticuffs because you're face to face, people would be like, you know what? One of us needs to fucking die. But we should do this like kind of fancy like. So people would start with their backs to each other. They'd both be holding a pistol, and they would walk a specific number of paces away from each other. And when they got there, they would turn and fire at each other. So they basically would just be busting the cap in some bitch over some argument that they probably didn't need to have.
Why do you? Okay, whatever. Continue.
So, while it's unknown what Tragny was dueling over, I'm going to go ahead and guess it was probably about vaccines or GMOs. So after enough debate, they finally decided that murder was the only option. And while taking his steps out, I'd like to think that he was probably wishing it hadn't come to that. To give him the benefit of the doubt. Realistically, if he was like a piece of garbage, he was probably super happy it had come to that because he has the opportunity to murder someone, although he might be killed in the process. And he got to his last step and he spun around to fire. But there was no gunshot because his opponent had dropped dead while taking his paces.
What?
The official diagnosis, the cause of death, scared to death. Heart failure. But this is like 1861 we're talking about. So they used to diagnose people with all sorts of completely stupid shit like toe foot. So who knows? But I like
2 episodes in a row.
Is that 2 episodes in a row?
I'm pretty sure. Unless we talked
about it on Storytime for sure.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was during the Mario Party.
Mario Party,
Mario Party. Yeah, we streamed that on Friday for anyone who didn't see it. You can probably go watch it on Twitch or YouTube if you like.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, I think.
But it's pretty crazy, right? You're dueling with someone to the death, you turn around and they drop dead. So it's like, you win by default. Fucking sweet, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not over. This stuff takes place between 1861 and 1878, so what's next? I name him Tragny the Troll, because he's probably out there talking shit, because he's, like, emboldened by the fact that he won his first duel. So as he continues to talk shit, people keep challenging him to duels. He would have a total of 5 duels in his life. 5 duels to the death. The second duel, he was probably taking his paces and thinking to himself, like, fuck, I wish this dude would drop dead like that other guy.
Why is he such a twat that he gets into these fights?
Some people are assholes. They're just born that way. And he's probably thinking to himself, like, how the fuck do I keep getting myself into these situations? Damn it, Henry. And then he spun around ready to shoot. And there's no gunshot. And lucky fucking duck, his second opponent was face down on the ground. Diagnosis? He died of heart failure. He was scared to death while dueling for the second time in a row.
Jeez.
Which is fucking bizarre, right?
Yeah.
Like, how would you react if I told you this isn't the last time this would happen?
That's like, what are the odds?
Indeed, dear listener, the next 2 duels would have the exact same results. The men would begin to step out on their paces, and during those steps, the opponent of Henry Tragny would drop dead of heart failure.
What if he poisoned them all?
Well, this is my next bullet point. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, this dude is clearly pricking these guys with something that has a fast-acting poison or some shit on it, like that Frost dude from Dragon Ball Super. What a fucking cheater. But then the 5th duel happened, and this time, while taking his paces, Henry Tragny dropped dead of heart failure. So maybe he accidentally poisoned himself or something like that, but when they examined his body, nothing was ever discovered on him. They just said he dropped dead of heart failure. 4 times in a row, his opponent dropped dead of heart failure before. This time, he did. So maybe he accidentally poisoned himself, but like I said, nothing was ever found. What's bizarre, and this is just so funny to me, is that he had 5 duels to the death in his life, and he never fired a single shot. His K to D was still 4-1, which is pretty fucking good. Like, let's be honest.
That's just ridiculous to think about it that way.
So that one's bizarre. Obviously, this guy existed. These duels took place. Maybe there was some bullshit or some, like, other stuff going on with it. But that's a bizarre thing. And if someone did drop dead, and it happened 4 times in a row, that's just beyond the level of coincidence. That's just bizarre. So here's one that's probably total bullshit. And I really like this one. I've heard this one a lot, and you can find it a bunch of different places. I've not been able to validate the names or the exact place that this took place, but hey, this is a good legend, and we've done these before, and it's been told a bunch. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one. So supposedly, this took place in 1858 in the Wild West of America.
All right.
During this time, there was a fun little what?
I'm just thinking Wild West now.
I hate you so much. So during this time, there's a fun little poker game. So while this poker game is going on, like people are wont to do during poker, someone was caught cheating. And someone else saw that and accused them of cheating because they were winning so fucking much. Like their stack was $600 deep during this poker game.
And 600 is a lot back then.
Well, this is 1860. And I decided that I was going to find an inflation calculator rather than just make the whole, like, that's like $1 billion now joke. So $600 adjusted to 2018 U.S. currency is the same as having $18,227.42.
What?
So this dude has a fuck ton of money in front of him in the Old West, too, where a lot of desperate people are going out there to make a fortune.
When's Will Smith show up?
He doesn't. Thank God. So
why?
Because that movie sucks.
I love that
it's
movie.
It's a terrible movie.
It's a great movie.
You're insane.
You're insane.
So anyway, some dude's like, this guy's fucking cheating. And the guy who accused him thought to himself, we should duel. But I don't want to drop dead of heart failure because I hear that's a thing. So instead, he just took out a gun and fucking shot and killed him at the table.
What?
Yeah, he wasn't like, we should go outside and settle this like men. No, he was like, bang, you're fucking dead. You're a cheater. And things get kind of weird here. And things get kind of dumb here because instead of everyone taking the money or the guy that just murdered someone else taking the money, they left it there. And they decided it made more sense to them. Because, I mean, you have to have a fifth for poker, right? To find a total stranger in the fucking saloon and have him play with the dead guy's money.
Wow.
They're like, hey, sit down and play with the money. Because they probably figured this guy would just lose the money back to them, right? So the stranger did sit down and he played. And he did very well. And how well, do you ask? Well, when he was done playing and there was no more altercations, I want to say that out front. When he was done playing with this dead guy's money, he finished up the night with $2,200.
In back then money.
In back then money. In right now money, that's $66,833.88. So he walked out of there with almost 4 times as much as he started with. And again, this wasn't his fucking money. So the local authorities, probably a sheriff or something, heard about the incident the next day. And you might think to yourself with your 2018 brain, oh, they arrested the shooter for murder. Good God, no. Like, this is the Old West in America that we're talking about. They probably didn't even track that guy down. And if they did, they probably gave him, like, a fucking ribbon. Or a medal if it was a headshot. Who the fuck knows? This is the Wild West. What they did do is they tracked down the guy who played with the money that wasn't his and demanded he give back $600 from his winnings so they could give it to the dead man's next of kin. So this is all sorts of...
that's legit,
But
though.
this is all sorts of bizarre shit, because, like, if you were going to kill this guy for cheating, then why'd you ask someone to keep playing? And then, like, if the law was so worried about that $600 getting to the right people, why didn't they just give it back to the people he stole it from? So it's a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense. But the guy was like, fuck it, here you go. I still have $1,600, which is like $48,606.46 in 2018. Why do I know that? Who knows? That's just what he said. Not really. I don't know. I'm just making shit up right now. But seriously, he gave the $600 back. That is true. Or it's not. It could be all bullshit. So he gives it to the local authorities. He gives it to the local authorities, right? And they had $600 in hand, and they're like, okay, who knew this guy? And then the real adventure begins, finding out who the fuck this dude is and who his next of kin actually is.
Okay.
So they did. They were very dedicated to this, and they tracked down former friends and girlfriends from around town. They wound up traveling between towns to figure out who this guy was and if he had any kids, until they finally found a woman who was like, yeah, I knew him. We used to bang on the reg. As soon as I got preggers, though, he said he was going out for a pack of smokes, and he never came back.
That's
which is
fucked.
also weird because it's 1858, and we don't really sell packs. Everyone just rolls their own cigarettes.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yes.
Okay.
But she had to raise her son alone because this guy ran out. And they're like, that sucks, dog. Can you tell us where your son is now? We have his late father's estate to settle up with him. And she was like, sure. So she told them, this is where my son is. They kept in regular contact, at least enough where she knew where he was. So they tracked him down. And upon finding him, they handed over the $600 to him. Wait a minute. Did I say handed over? I mean handed back. The fucking son of the guy was the guy that was picked to play poker after the shooting.
Shut up.
He sat down at the table and played money with his dead dad's money, not knowing that was his father the entire fucking time. And no one else knew until they found this guy's mom, who happened to be the chick who had banged this dude who had died in the bar. So
What
that
are the
one's
odds?
crazy, right? It's probably bullshit. I've heard about that one for a long time, and that one's all over the fucking internet. I heard that before I was finding shit on the internet. And it's a quick one, but it's fun. So we're going to go back to France now. So this one is 100% accurate. There's no disputing any of these things. These things are 100% documented because I felt, I'm going to go back to one that's not like, possible nonsense.
All right.
So have you ever heard of a guy named Bonaparte? I mean Bonaparte, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh, I thought you meant Boner Patrol.
No.
Okay.
That would be cool, though. That would be cool if you had that last name. But anyways, most people have heard of Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
God damn it. Basically, if anyone's not heard of him, he was a French military leader in the 1800s who was basically like, let's take all this shit over.
Shouty.
And it worked for a while, too. I've heard everyone says he's like legendarily short. I've heard in real life he was like between 5'5" and 5'8". He wasn't actually that short. He was just short. Like, that's where the phrase Napoleon complex comes from for someone who's short that feels like they have to make up from it by being overly aggressive. Because this dude was basically, he had a huge boner for world domination. He was trying to take everything over.
It's in his
he was
name.
a brilliant general, too. So he was trying to take, I hate you so much. He was trying to take over the world. And he started a lot of wars. So obviously, someone who had a life like this, when time went on and he was gone, people would compare other people to him. And at least in the beginning, there was a person named Adolf Hitler who was compared to Napoleon Bonaparte a lot. There's a lot of debate about whether or not their personalities match up, but this is something that I've heard of since, I think, U.S. history in junior year of my high school, so like almost 20 years ago. And the reason I bring this up is because of the number 129.
Okay.
What's the significance in that? Okay, well, first off, Hitler was born not the same day, but born 129 years after Napoleon Bonaparte was born.
All right.
So Hitler was around for a while in German politics, which anyone who's read up on that knows. The German people wanted nothing to do with him for a while. They didn't give him the time of day until eventually he did take over. And as a side note, this is just crazy too. I've known about this for a while, but I validated it today again just because I'm like, is that really true? In 1932, during the election in Germany, Hitler didn't fucking win. Bless you.
Thanks.
Hitler lost. Hitler lost that election. Everyone thinks like that's when he rose to power, which is kind of true in 1932, but someone else completely won. And then they decided like they wanted to have the Nazi Party and Hitler close because so many people were starting to back them. So in 1933, this guy appointed Hitler the chancellor.
I remember that.
So
not that I was there, but I remember
she's like,
that.
oh yeah, I remember that well. But yeah, so he didn't win this election. He was appointed chancellor in 1933, giving him this power he had coveted so much.
All right.
And this was his first rise to actual power. And from there, things would just get worse and worse, which is super weird because in 1804, Napoleon rose to power 129 years before.
Okay.
So 129 again. So Napoleon, like we talked about, was a warmonger. And that's where a lot of the comparisons between the two come along because, like, personalities aside, they both started lots of conflicts. And one that Napoleon started proved to be a big mistake because he decided to invade Russia. And anyone who's ever read anything about history knows fucking with Russia on their own turf is a really bad move because eventually the winter's going to hit.
Right.
The winter is extremely cold. It lasts very long, and it'll cut off your supply line. And then you're just outright fucking boned. I just keep working bone into this because of Bonaparte.
You're so ridiculous.
Napoleon invaded anyways. He invaded Russia in 1812 because he's stupid. So you figure people would learn not to do that. But during World War II, Hitler
did the same
would
thing.
Also invade a ton of countries.
Get riggedy wrecked, son.
And although World War II started in 1939, he waited to invade Russia. Because at first he was like, no, we're not going to invade. That was his big thing. He would sign a bunch of treaties saying he wasn't going to do shit, and then he'd do it whenever he wanted to. So eventually he decided it's a good idea to invade Russia, ignoring everything of the history of it. And when did that happen? 1941, 129 years later.
That's insane.
So their lives very much parallel each other, which is just absolutely bizarre. And he ran into the same fucking problems as everyone does. He invaded Russia, his army got cut off. He did a very good job at first, but then eventually it didn't fucking work out for him.
Do you think the Red Skull's over there like, you are failing?
Probably. I mean, I would be. But while the number 129 here is extremely consistent, I will tell you, dear listener, that if you hear this story other places or find it on the internet, they will tell you that Napoleon and Hitler's defeats also came 129 years apart, and that's the final 129 connection. That is not true, because most people that have heard of Napoleon know that the Battle of Waterloo is where like things were finally over for him. There's a fucking song about it. So
really?
That took place, yeah. It's called Waterloo. That took place in 1815, and of course, like Hitler's defeat and supposed suicide took place in 1945, which is 130 years apart. So it casts some doubt on the whole 129 coincidence thing.
But what are the odds?
But it's still very, very creepy.
Yeah.
So the final coincidence I'm going to leave you guys with on this episode is one that I feel is appropriate since it's getting close to Halloween. And as a side note, one of the first things we sent out for the Patreon level, where it's kind of like a scary-ish loot box where you get like a monthly gift.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things we sent out is the collection of stories of Edgar Allan Poe,
right?
Who we fucking love. So he's especially great to read this time of year. And I just thought it was crazy because all of his stories are short stories except for one. Edgar Allan Poe only actually published one novel. And I didn't really know that. That novel is called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, which is just a terrible name. It's not as catchy as all his other names. Most people haven't heard of this. It came out in 1838. So what's it about? Well, it's about a boat of dumb people, basically, that sail towards Antarctica in a ship, and it doesn't go well. Shit goes crazy. They wind up getting shipwrecked, and in wonderful fashion, 4 members of the crew decide that the only way to survive is to eat the cabin boy to avoid starving to death. So it's about, a lot of things you see this with, like, shipwrecks, especially being, like, lost in the winter, like the Donner Party, like people to resort to cannibalism. So that happens in the book. I won't spoil the rest, but why do I bring this up? Well, because almost 50 years later, in 1882, I think, a boat known as the Mignonette decided to sail to Antarctica in real life. This is not bullshit. This is 100% documented and true. And guess what? Shit didn't go well for them in real life either. The ship would experience rough seas and face a treacherous journey where the ship would be damaged and most of the crew would fucking die.
Holy crap.
How many survivors were there? 4.
What?
They would also return home and tell people about the horrible things they faced. One particular horrible act.
That they had to eat someone.
Cannibalism.
Oh my God.
They ate a person to stay alive. So who did they eat?
The little boy?
The cabin boy. On the ship.
Oh my God.
You creeped out yet? Well, here comes the cherry on top to end the episode. The character of the cabin boy in the book, and you can read this, is named Richard Parker. On the ship.
No, it wasn't.
That took this doomed voyage in 1884... The crew included an individual by the name of Richard Parker. He was the fucking cabin boy.
That's bullshit.
It is 100% true.
No way.
And it is super fucking creepy. So there's all these coincidences that happen throughout life that are super scary. And I just wanted to bring some of them up and put them all into one episode together for you guys, rather than space them out and have really short episodes, because these are really fucking creepy.
It's really weird because there are a lot of things like that, where it's like so and so made a TV show episode or a movie or something, and it happens in the future, like
the Elisa Lam thing.
Oh my goodness!
Where it was the movie Dark Waters in 2004, and then she wound up dying in like 2011 or 2012.
It's just there's so many things like that, or like TV episodes where we watch them now and they're so appropriate for the times.
Yeah.
Where it's like, holy shit, politics is just like that.
I mean, you can see that with like political like cartoons that are like drawn in the 1910s where they still match up 100%.
Yeah,
it's that's
crazy.
Like the catchphrase, like the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
When you see things that like are still consistent like that, you think about all the things that have changed and like how life is completely different than before, but like some of the problems are still the exact same.
It's crazy that stuff like that happens.
And there are so many of these things. Like I found so many more trying to find details on specific stuff, like the Abraham Lincoln one. I was like, that one's pretty famous. I'll be able to find stuff like that. So when I was like researching this stuff about like the day it took place and like where the kid went to school, and the name of like John Wilkes Booth's brother, I was just like, okay, let's see here. And I kept finding lists like Ranker or like whatever the hell the other ones are, where it's like, here's like 19 crazy coincidences. And some of them I'd never heard of. And I was going through them, I'm like, okay, we're going to have another episode where I cover bizarre coincidences and go over some of these once I've read more up on them.
Cool.
So I hope you guys enjoy this one. I don't know. This is a kind of a weird topic. I haven't done one like this before. But yeah, that is Bizarre Coincidences, a number 1.
Awesome. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Nice little tidbits.
Yeah, I thought
like
so
your
too.
titty bitties.
Weird, but thank you.
All
So
right.
you're going to tell us about Robert the Doll.
Yes, so I'm going to go with Robert the Doll. And since we've started this podcast, we've had so many people bring up this specific topic. So when someone in the Discord said today, like, just do it, I was just like, fuck it, I'll do it. Like, that's fine.
I've heard of haunted dolls, but I've never heard of any other ones besides Annabelle.
Now, this one is hilarious because I feel like we can never escape Zach Baggins because
he's covered almost all this shit already.
I know. And I just know that there was an episode where they're at his museum that's out here and they have Robert and some people come and see him and talk to him and
Zach Baggins wets his pants, go blind, and turns pregnant.
I don't know. It's just like this whole thing. And it's a stupid production. I hate it. It's dumb. I will never not hate it. But
I will never not hate it. That should be on a fucking button. I like that one.
But my personal memories of this particular doll come from watching Travel Channel specials when I was a little kid. Because these Travel Channel specials, it was like there'd be like the most haunted houses in America or most haunted places in America. Like all those things that the Travel Channel used to do. And there was an episode that had Robert the Doll in it. And I just remember being so scarred and afraid of dolls and just growing up how creepy they were and how creepy that show made them out to be. And I just have never liked dolls since. Never.
It was that show that triggered it for you?
I like growing up I had Barbies and stuff, you know what I mean? And then there's that the one episode. And now I'm just like, porcelain dolls are a fuck no. Like, I'm just like, anything that looks like a person, I'm good.
For most people my age, I mean, we're not that big of an age gap. It's only 4 years. But most people that like I grew up around, dolls were ruined forever by Child's Play, by Chucky. Like, after that, it was like, keep fucking like stuffed animal or stuffed dolls or regular dolls away from me forever.
See, Chucky's not that scary to me.
You're insane.
Because it's just like so
a small
fake.
doll with a knife. Well, yeah, obviously it's fake.
It just seems so fake. But like,
what's Robert the Doll make? What's Robert the Doll have that Chucky does not? I'm just saying.
Real life.
So it's real? 100% confirmed real haunted doll.
It's a real doll in real life.
Well, obviously, yeah. Chucky's
Chucky's
based on a real doll.
No, he's not.
He really was. He was based on a Raggedy Ann or a Raggedy Andy that was supposedly possessed. Gonna have to cover that on Haunted Hollywood 3.
All right, because I don't know this. All right, so anyway, let's get into fun information things.
I hate you. Is that your new catchphrase you're trying out?
No.
Like that one chick who makes all that stuff on YouTube, all the foods?
Let's get started.
I don't know. She's really good, actually. I'm not going to talk any shit
No,
about her.
I really like her baking stuff.
What is her
I
name?
actually have her baking cookbook. Is that what they're called? Baking cookbooks?
Cookbook.
I don't know.
For
Yeah, sure. I have her cookbook.
What's her name?
Rosanna Pensino.
Okay, cool.
I like
She
it.
started a YouTube series where she just cooks like or bakes random things and
Nerdy
she makes them all
things.
look like really nerdy, and then I don't know. The last thing I saw of her, she was making like all these Mario Kart themed things.
Oh,
and
the cake pops with the shell.
yeah,
and stuff
she had all these different
and
things.
And she had the creator.
She had Shigeru Miyamoto come on her fucking show,
Oh
and then
my
she got to play Mario Kart with him. I was like,
Ugh.
I cannot believe this chick started just a baking show. And like the funny thing about her early baking shows is in her background, she always has 2 toy dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And she stacks them on top of each other, so they always look like they're fucking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, everyone obviously notices this, and they put them in different positions every episode. And then she gets her like cooking voice show throughout the years, and like her voice kind of changes. But
yeah, but now she's balling.
She is balling.
And I totally want
Mario
that
Kart
life,
with
but
Shigeru Miyamoto.
whatever. Anyway, let's get back to creepy stuff because we're not that type of podcast.
Let's get creepy.
Ew, no, I don't like it. Okay, so this doll originally belonged to someone named Robert Eugene Otto, who was a so-called quote-unquote eccentric who was a part of a pretty prominent Key West family. And apparently his name was either Otto or Gene. I don't know which one. So I'm just going to refer to him as Otto because that's his last name. Fuckert. The doll was first bought by Otto's grandfather while on a trip to Germany in 1904.
Everything circles back to Germany.
Holy shit!
What year was it?
1904.
Okay. So
And
this is pre-World War I, pre-World War II.
yeah,
So all the evil resided in the dolls, not the politicians at the time.
maybe.
Okay, good to know.
And was given to Otto as a birthday gift. There is, though, another iteration of the story, which doesn't seem like the legit story, but is that a girl/woman gave Otto the doll as a gift or quote-unquote retaliation for wrongdoing. And it's thought that the family mistreated a Haitian servant, firing her after supposedly catching her practicing black magic. And the doll was supposed to actually resemble Otto.
Wow.
So
you catch someone doing black magic, you fire them, and then they show back up with a doll that looks like Otto, and they're like, "This is a gift."
Why is it that voice?
I don't know. That's just the voice I had in my head.
You're so dumb. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I don't really know if I believe this particular iteration of it. I'm just gonna go with that his grandpa got it for him. And
was his grandpa a Haitian servant who practiced black magic / voodoo?
Just shut up.
They could both be true.
Stop
That's all
talking.
I'm saying.
Regardless of its actual origin, the doll was a very unusual one. It's actually a one-of-a-kind creation. I was actually reading different articles, and there was one that said it's from an actual certain particular manufacturer. And they don't actually make that. They didn't actually make that doll at the time. It's literally one of a kind, but because they think it was actually supposed to just be for like a window decoration. Like it was just supposed to be put in a window. Yeah. And so the grandpa bought it, and it's just a one of a kind thing. It's not a normal doll that they actually sold.
So it could be worth a lot of money.
Right. And it's from the company that literally created the Theodore Roosevelt teddy bear.
Aw.
Yeah. So I don't know how much I believe it, but
That's all I heard.
Marbles in my mouth. Okay. So please, no one say anything else. Alrighty. So this thing is.
Were you talking to me or the voices in your head? That was just super creepy.
Not. I'm talking about everybody listening. Talking to everybody listening. Anyway, I don't have.
Because they talk back to you and you don't like it? Are you saying don't yell at you for saying things like
I don't
that?
want anybody to make jokes about other things in my mouth.
Oh, I get it.
Anyway, this thing, Robert, the doll, is 40 inches tall and is stuffed with a wood wool, kind of like a straw, and he's dressed in a sailor suit. And the suit, the company that created the doll, says that they did not provide those suits. So
someone made it custom for him.
Well, no, the suit was probably something that Otto actually wore himself as a child. So
this is just getting creepier.
Yeah. So Robert was obviously named after Otto and rarely, if ever, left his side. And it was almost like an unhealthy obsession where Otto took Robert everywhere and spoke to him as if he were a person. Sometimes from Otto's room, you'd hear him talking in his childish voice, and then a response from a deeper voice.
That's super fucking
creepy.
So he's either talking to himself, which is kind of creepy, or he's talking to a doll that speaks, which is adorable because I've seen the movie Ted.
Oh, no. Okay, so The doll literally had its own seat at the dinner table where Otto would sneak food to him. When household objects would be thrown across the room or toys would be found mutilated, Otto would state, "I didn't do it. Robert did it."
Wow.
Yeah. And it's thought that by doing this, Otto kind of created Robert's entire being or triggered some supernatural force or something. Like something putting so much emotional energy into an object and giving it kind of a life of its own. So kind of bringing it to life.
Like willing it into existence.
Right.
There's that horror movie where a bunch of skeptics get together and they've decided that, like, ghosts don't exist, but if enough people believe in them, that belief is what creates things, and they decide they're all going to sit down and create, like, a monster. I don't remember the name of it. I really wanted to watch it because they wind up, like, focusing for so long on creating something, they make something, and then it winds up, like, attacking all of them and killing most of them. But
that sounds really weird.
I don't remember the name of the movie. I totally want to watch it now, though.
Okay. Well, when you find that movie, we'll maybe watch it. I don't know. Otto
maybe watch it. I don't know. Thank you for that ringing endorsement.
Otto told his mother that he wanted to be referred to by his middle name, Jean, because Robert was the doll's name. Like, who does that? Where you give up your own identity to this object.
That is creepy.
Where you're just like, no. He can be me now. His name's Robert. I'm not Robert. You can call me by whatever you want to.
The closest thing I've ever experienced something like that is I was walking into my house with two of my friends named Mike and Garrett, and a ferret ran by. And I didn't own a ferret. A ferret was just like out in my yard and ran by us. And Mike saw, he's like, "We're going to name that ferret Garrett." And Garrett, that's not your name anymore.
Oh my God. That's so
Because Mike
mean.
always trolled Garrett. And Garrett always took it in stride. Although you could see on Garrett's face, he's like, "I'm going to fucking punch him one of these days."
Wow. All right. Anyway, sometimes his mother would burst into his room to find Otto cowering in a corner with Robert sitting in a chair or on his bed glaring at him. And eventually, Otto's parents took the doll and placed him in a box in the attic.
Why not just burn it?
I don't know why people don't burn things.
I don't either. Like, burning it, I feel like, is the best way to get rid of
But
something.
what if you release its spirit and it then can go on this murdering rampage?
How?
And
It doesn't have a body anymore. I've killed
don't
its
know.
body.
I can't tell you. I don't control the power of everything.
Wouldn't putting it in a box in the attic want to release its rage and make it go on a murdering rampage as well?
Probably doesn't make him happy, that's for sure. When Otto grew up, the doll remained at the family home at 534 Eaton Street in Key West, which is in Florida, by the way.
I was going to say, like, that's very specific.
While Otto studied art in New York and Paris. And he actually became a pretty well-known artist, I think. He actually designed the gallery at the Fort East Martello Museum. He actually planned to make his own home a museum. And he married Annette Parker in Paris on May 3rd, 1930. And after the death of his father, returned to their home in Key West afterwards. Otto felt that the home was spacious and provided a good space for him to paint.
Oh, God. Does he move back in and find the doll?
Well, he of course, he went up to his old friend from the attic.
Oh, my God.
And took him out, dusted him off, made him feel like he's friends again. And what's really strange is that for someone his age to be obsessed over his toy again. Like,
he became obsessed again?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like he was a child again. Absolutely obsessed with it. And his wife was like, "What the hell, dog?" Like,
that's hilarious.
Otto,
like, "Yo, dog, that's not getting in the bed with us."
Yeah. Otto took the doll everywhere. He even sat the doll on a chair near where they slept.
What the? No, deal breaker.
Yeah.
Divorcio.
Oh, yeah.
That's not happening. Get that fucking doll out of here. Unless it's filled with, like, diamond dildos. It doesn't get to come in the bedroom.
Gross.
I figured that would be, like, the most expensive thing. It's an all Chris Rock joke. Just keep going.
Oh, okay. One day, his wife had had it. She was done with this creepy doll. She moved Robert to the attic where the turret room, because...
That's where you store all your fucking machine gun turrets?
All houses have turrets. Or turret rooms. Fuck. Well, it became his own little area. And children walking by the home swore that they...
Oh, no. Fuck this.
They swore that they would see Robert appear and reappear in the upstairs window and would avoid the house.
I would. Fuck that shit, dude. You're at the point now where you have to burn the house down.
I don't know. Needless to say, this did not help their marriage at all. But they didn't get a divorce.
Wow.
So,
It's dedication.
yeah.
It's like that meme where it shows like two old people holding each other, and it's like, back in our day, we didn't throw something away if it was broken. We fixed it.
Pepperidge Farm
I
remembers.
hate you so much.
Anyway, Otto died in 1974, and his wife died 2 years later. Robert stayed within the home, which was sold to a Myrtle Reuter, who owned it for 20 years before selling it to its current owners, which, by the way, is now a guest house, so you could probably stay there.
No shit.
Yeah, I'm like,
Vacation to Key West.
No, I'll skip it.
I will burn this doll.
Nah, I'm good. Residents reported the doll's strange behavior and strange occurrences within the home after Otto's death. Robert is said to be pretty mean and pretty menacing. The doll is said to be able to move, and some report seeing it change its facial expressions. I personally am not a fan of the idea of that it makes giggling or laughing sounds.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the idea that it's like sentient and likes to stare at people while they sleep or possibly bang.
Right. I've stated it before, and I'll say it again. Children's laughter freaks me out. It is definitely the worst when you're alone and have no kids.
Disembodied children's laughter is the worst.
Yes. They would hear footsteps in the attic room above them. The plumber heard... Oh, not the plumber. It's not like they had a dedicated plumber. A plumber heard giggling and turned around to find that the doll had moved across the room on its own. People who passed even said that they heard giggling from the turret room. Solaris Hill reporter Malcolm Ross visited Robert and said it was like a metal bar running down my back. At first, when we walked through the door, the look on his face was like a little boy being punished. It was as if he was asking himself, who are these people in my room and what are they doing or what are they going to do to me?
Aw, it's scary.
It is scary, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you're a fucking evil doll. Get the fuck out of here. And then a number of people have stated feeling like the doll was intelligently listening to the conversations around it, changing his expression with his mood.
Yeah, like taking his cup of tea and being like, well, I kind of agree, but I find it a bit pedantic.
You're
Burn it!
You're so stupid.
This pretentious evil doll needs to die.
Anyway, Myrtle took Otto with her when she moved, but in 1994, Robert was donated to the East Martello Museum in Key West. She claimed that he moved around on his own around her house and that he was haunted. Myrtle actually died a few months later.
Wow. Maybe he was keeping her alive. Maybe he was moving around to get you medicine you didn't know you needed.
I highly doubt it. In the episode with Zach Baggins, it was actually just on loan, I think, because they did take it to the museum. I don't remember. But Robert's location does seem to change every so often. Like it switches back every year in between locations, I think. So that kind of makes sense. And when visiting this doll, it's said that weird things do happen. Lights flicker, cameras malfunction. People consistently send letters of apology because their lives are riddled with bad luck.
We've heard about that before from something else.
After they've disrespected him. There have been cases of him causing car accidents, broken bones, job loss, divorce. The list goes on. And if you want to take his picture, you have to first ask.
I remember this. This is one of the only episodes I've ever watched of Ghost Adventures.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's the same one with the Dybbuk box.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that totally makes sense now. Because I'm like, that's the other episode I watched. It was the same episode.
If you want to take his picture, you have to ask permission politely. And apparently he'll tilt his head if you can.
That's horse shit.
And if not, and you take the photo anyway, he'll curse you and anyone in your party.
So you're just not supposed to take pictures of this fucking thing.
I guess
He's not going to tilt his head. He's just going to stare at you.
What if he does?
Prolonged creepy eye contact is one of my fortes. Maybe I'll go to that museum and just take up a chair and just stare at him.
Gross.
Yeah, you like that, Robert? Yeah.
Oh, stop it.
Staring contest for the win.
The same happens if you make fun of him, so get riggedy wrecked, you troll.
This would be the ultimate fucking revenge for Zach Baggins if he's ever heard the show and hears how much shit I talk about him, to take this episode, put a speaker in the room with Robert and play it, and then just put a picture of me in front of it like, this is the guy.
Some people do mail him letters asking to curse other people.
Wow, that's fucked up.
Right?
And honestly, kind of smart.
So anyway, let's not make fun of him. Let's not do any weird shit. People do gift Robert lots of random things like sweets and even weed.
Wow.
Like, what the fuck?
That's just fucking stupid. It's a waste of weed, people.
I don't even. But people do send him cards and letters and stuff like that, which I think is strange. Anyway, while
people sending actual objects to a doll that's supposed to be haunted. Yeah, I would go with strange on that one as well.
While researching, I found out that there's literally a movie inspired by Robert called, you guessed it,
The Boy.
Robert.
Oh. I thought of The Boy when you were talking about this starting out.
No. It was made in 2015 and has a 3.2 out of 10 on IMDb.
That is bad.
That's super bad.
Ghost Adventures bad.
Like, so bad. Like, why you do this bad? Oh my god. When I saw that, I was like, bleh.
It's like Midnight Man bad.
Okay, Midnight Man was not that bad.
Midnight
it's not
Man,
a 3.2 out of 10 bad. It's
I'll
like
give
a
you
4
that.
out of 10
It's
bad.
not bad. It just doesn't follow its own rules. Like halfway into that movie,
Well, that's why England, what's his name?
Robert Englund.
Robert Englund, yeah, where he's just like, he doesn't like to lose. And it's obvious that it's like, he's going to cheat. He's obviously going to cheat.
So we watched the movie Midnight Man this past week, and I got to say, like, I was kind of enjoying it until, like, there's a very specific thing they have to do to start this game, and then someone joins in the middle and doesn't do any of the shit to join in, like, that you're supposed to do. And I was like, whoa, you can just join in this fucking game, like, right at the end? Why would you ever not play it this way? Why wouldn't you ever just start it, like, a minute before the game is supposed to end? And then in the end, like, the fucking thing doesn't even follow the rules, like Circle of Salt and all that shit. We have to go back and rewatch the ending now. So, because there's a big debate between Robin and I about whether or not they broke the Circle of Salt.
They broke the Circle.
They did not. They never showed a picture of them breaking the Circle of Salt. So I don't know. I did not enjoy Midnight Man or whatever the fuck it's called. At the end of it, I was just like, you know what? They really fucked up that ending. I was very disappointed in it.
I don't know. Guy gets punched through the fucking mouth. It was insane.
It was like it built up well, and then it just let me down. So.
Okay.
What is the other horror movie that we watched?
Did it build you up, Buttercup?
Yeah.
Baby, just to let you down?
And mess me around.
Yeah.
So many copyright strikes.
Okay, anyway. Fuck, what were you saying?
What other movie did we watch? We watched one more movie.
I watched The Tall Man. You didn't watch The Tall Man, though.
I could have sworn we watched one other horror movie, but I just am blanking on it right now. I know we watched American Horror Story. We got caught up with that.
Yeah, we got caught up in American
Horror Story. So I'm kind of happy with. The guy looks like the guy that played Warlock in the movie Warlock. Pet Sematary, that's right.
Yeah.
That movie does, I don't know. I would rather read the book than watch the movie, I think.
I thought it was okay.
There's so many times in Stephen King movies where I'm like, human beings don't act like this. Like, you wouldn't fucking do that.
Like where, well, okay, you know what? It's from 1989. If you haven't watched it.
Apparently in 1989, you let like a fucking 2-year-old fly a kite next to a highway that you know has semis going by all the fucking time and don't pay any goddamn attention to him. Like, what? Like, that's not even the first time that happened in the movie.
Spoilers here, okay? So he does it to his son, and then
what to his son?
Buries him at the pet cemetery.
And then he comes
back, and then he's like, but it's okay. I'll put my wife in there. It'll be fine. And so he puts his wife in the fucking hole, and of course she's going to come back and kill him.
Everything comes back wrong. The ground is sour, as that old man says in the movie. I love the South Park episode where they make fun of Pet Sematary.
Oh, sometimes dead's
better. That's just the fucking funniest thing. So watching that movie,
he said it like 6 times.
That's all I can fucking think of watching this movie. And while I'm watching this movie, is like, no one would do that. No one would do that. No one would definitely do that. After that happened, it just, I don't know. There was a lot of stuff that I watched horror-wise that pissed me off. Honestly, American Horror Story was the one thing we watched this week.
That was good.
That I was like, I actually like this. Like, and then they brought in, like, you understand the crossover now between, like, the worlds, because it's supposed to be
like Coven and
Latex
stuff.
Man and the Coven.
Oh, and the hotel.
And they brought in the hotel stuff, so they're mixing some of it together. Like, so I was kind of into it. I prefer to watch series at this point, a season at a time, and not an episode at a time, because like I have these questions, then I have to wait.
That's how I feel right now, because I'm watching New Amsterdam. I'm watching The Good Doctor. I'm watching, what else? Manifest.
Some Korean drama.
And I'm watching a Korean drama that I have to wait every single week for it to come out. And I'm just like, these shows need to just put their seasons online so I can stream it all at once, because this is driving me absolutely bonkers.
You know it comes out soon, like in, I think, 2 weeks. Castlevania Season 2. Can't fucking wait. That was really good on Netflix.
I saw a trailer of it.
If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's only 4 episodes long, and it's very, very good.
Oh, yeah, anyway, let's finish up this.
Yeah, this is a really big tangent.
Yeah, that's been the movie corner. We always have one of those. I don't know why. Because we watch too much TV. Fuck. And, okay, so, and other things that you might want to know is that you can buy your own Robert replica.
Fuck that.
Yeah, you can buy your own.
Isn't that offensive to Robert, or does he like it when people pour piles of money at his feet?
I don't know.
Does he get? He better get some fucking money. If he's not seeing anything from that, I think he needs to start killing some people.
He's too high.
What do you mean he's too
To
from all
know.
the weed? Well, he can't smoke it. Does Zach Bagels just fucking smoke it and
Probably
blow it in his
smokes it
face?
for him. Anyway, yeah, you can buy a Robert. I was gonna say robot. You can buy a Robert replica, and prices range from $40 to $70. Just in case y'all wanted one of your own.
To creep all your friends out with.
I don't want one, but you know.
I don't either. You know what? There's a joke I've been trying to work in, and I'm just realizing now that you're getting to the end of this topic, it's not going to work. Like, I was trying to work in auto Robert asphyxiation, but there's just no spot in this fucking story for the joke. Something, Zach Bagel, something, auto Robert asphyxiation.
You're not funny.
Nailed it.
Okay. But yeah, that's Robert the doll.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thanks.
I knew that was the end of your script. I'm just like so disappointed I couldn't work that in earlier. But yeah, honestly, I feel like this was a good episode. I'm really glad you went second too, because I wanted to know more about Robert the doll, and I could get all my excitement for talking about Coinky Dinks, which is what I should really name this topic.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Coinky Dinks,
Yeah.
number one. People will be like, I'm not listening to that garbage.
Why not?
I don't know, because it's a terrible name.
I think it's cute.
Honestly, most of the stuff I do, I'm like, people won't like this. Everyone hates me. So
I hate you.
I know. That's probably where all my issues come from. So
Okay.
good to know. Anyways, if you guys want to reach out to us with your particular homegrown horrors or paranormal experiences, you can reach out to us at storytime@scarish.com. That is our email address. You can go to facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Send us a message, like the page, join the group. It's the Scarish Spooky Friends group. You can post on that wall. Is that what they call it in the group? You can just post there for some instant feedback from the community if you want. You can also go to Discord. The best way to join our Discord is just go to scarish.com, scroll to the right, and you will see...
Do you have to scroll to the right, or is it just...
Scroll down. On the right-hand side, you will see something that says join our Discord, and click there, and you will be in. And if you want to tweet at us, it's at scaryishpod, 280 characters, so use those wisely.
We also have an Instagram.
We do. It's at Scarish Podcast, because we're not consistent in the naming of anything we do. If you want to check out our stuff on YouTube, it's youtube.com/scarish. Because again, we are not consistent in anything we do. Twitch.tv/Scarish Podcast. Consistency. That's where you can find all the live shows, the Mario Party adventure that we did. It was really fun for me.
It was fun for me too.
I'm glad.
Oh, it wasn't fun at the end. No, at the
you were
end.
Getting very upset.
Oh my God. Okay.
Started throwing expensive
and
controllers.
then we just played this weekend with our friends. And it was a bloodbath, okay? And what's really upsetting is that they did win quite a few mini games, and you still took the entire board.
Strategy.
And it's just like, why the fuck? I don't understand.
I would say crown me, but I don't want to turn into Adam Et, like Bowsette.
You wouldn't be as cute.
Oh, that's super sweet. I wouldn't. Oh, you mean I wouldn't be as cute as Bowsette? I thought you meant I wouldn't be as cute as I am now.
Oh!
I should have known that wasn't a compliment based off of, like 6 years of experience. I hate you so fucking much right now.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
So if you guys want to donate any money to us, we do appreciate it. It is absolutely not necessary at all. But for those of you who do ask about it, there's a couple of different ways. You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations and sign up for as low as $1, as much as $250. If you sign up for the $250 tier, it's called the producer tier, and we will give you a shout out on every show like we are doing for Connor. Thank you so much, Connor, for becoming our first Scarish producer. Your name also goes into the description of each episode, and we'll just stay there because as long as you donated to us during that month, as far as we're concerned, you help produce those episodes.
Yeah.
So thank you again one more time to Connor for becoming our first Scarish producer. But as little as $1 a month, you get early access to all of our episodes, plus patrons, Patreon, whatever, specific content, which is usually one of us throwing a fit during an episode or Robin making weird clicky noises that I'm going to turn into an album, and it's going to be the hottest shit of 2018. Maybe 2019.
Dude, if you could actually legit do that, I will...
It would be a lot. It would be a lot of work.
Yeah, mind blown.
Yeah, it'll be good though. I'll make at least one track one of these days.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And if you guys want to do one-time donations, you can always go to coffee.com/scarishpodcast. That is spelled ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. Make a one-time donation. And if you join us during the live shows, which are Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., you can send us donations live on Twitch and send a little message with it, and we'll read it out loud. It's really fun to do. It's really good to have you guys in that Twitch channel and in that YouTube channel because we can see everything you say. It's very fun interaction. It makes those shows super, super fun. So come check us out one of these days. It's 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesdays for a live recording of Storytime. So I think that's just about all the normal stuff that we do.
Cool.
Can you think of anything else?
Nope.
So do you want to give us the sign out, or is there anything left?
No, that's good. Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Sometimes, yeah, it's better.